In the dense jungle of Cambodia, Angie is running in panic and unexpectedly falls when she is shot in the stomach. A robot suddenly appears behind her and prepares to finish her off. Meanwhile, Colonel Green of the CIA is watching from a distance through a screen and orders the robot to speed up. All of this began 48 hours earlier, when the world was descending into war. Over 200 companies are developing advanced robots and competing for major military contracts. At an airport in Cambodia, 3 programmers are kidnapped by a man named Bowler. He refuses to answer any questions and takes them to a shabby apartment to set up equipment. However, only Kroger and Fielding stay behind, while Jans is taken away to set up a contact point. Bowler informs Green of the situation, and Green sends a plane with 4 BR robots to the Golden Triangle in the jungle. At the same time, Angie and 5 other doctors are carrying out a humanitarian mission. They encounter a spike trap and the van breaks down, so they have to continue their journey to the village on foot. Nearby, Jans and Bowler also arrive, with Bowler carefully guiding Jans through the areas, as Jans has the ability to detect hidden explosives in the bushes. They also have to hide whenever a patrol team passes by. Eventually, they find the correct location and Jans quickly sets up the communication device. Bowler also installs something he calls the backup plan. Once everything is ready, Green begins accessing the cameras. Meanwhile, Kroger receives a notification from his superior, Foster, that the target may change and the CIA has intervened in the matter. Kroger is surprised and asks Jans about this, but is suddenly silenced by Bowler. The group of doctors passes by but does not see them, continuing until they hear a strange noise. Fortunately, it is just a group of children playing soldier. Then, Jans and Bowler return to the apartment, while the plane finally drops the robots into the forest. The parachute of the BR-4 robot doesn't open correctly, and its signal is immediately lost. Meanwhile, BR-3 encounters issues with its communication module, which is very dangerous if the signal is lost. Because they would lose control of the robot, allowing it to attack anyone using its advanced artificial intelligence. As the robots begin to move, the group of doctors arrives at a village, where they meet Kiala and Mason. Their conversation is interrupted by the appearance of local smugglers. These smugglers attack Mason and beat Jordan. They don't care that the doctors are just volunteers and demand that they leave, or they will kill them. At the same time, the robots arrive at the setup point that Jans had previously installed. Bowler forces the group of programmers to update the source code with the new mission objective, which will take some time. They also discover that the BR-4 is finally operational, although it doesn't respond properly. As for the doctors, they will spend the night at Kiala's village, while the smugglers keep an eye on them, promising to leave them alone the next morning. Jordan realizes that Mason used to be a Navy SEAL, based on his tattoo, and calls him out for doing nothing to stop the smugglers. This almost leads to a fight, until the others intervene. The next morning, the technical team completes the source code update, and they are worried because the new code doesn't match the simulation they were promised. According to this new code, the robots begin to arm themselves and move without their intervention. Meanwhile, the group of children in the village is playing in the forest and accidentally discovers a fallen parachute. Under the parachute is the BR-4 robot. Leap, Kiala's son, takes the robot's module, causing the robot to begin moving. Panicked, the children immediately run away. The BR-4 checks its system and, upon detecting the missing module, reviews the video footage and begins searching for Leap. In the village, the smugglers are trying to force the doctors to leave. Leap interrupts them and brings the module to his father and the leader of the smuggler group, Proc. However, Proc doesn't take the boy seriously. At this moment, the robots appear outside the village, and Green orders them to attack the smugglers. At first, the technical team refuses because there are civilians present, but Bowler threatens to kill them if they don't follow the order. Eventually, they activate the order, and the robots immediately open fire on the village. The smugglers try to fight back, but their bullets cannot penetrate the robot's strong armor. Before long, they are wiped out. One of the children is shot in the head, causing Mason to rush to save Leap, leaving him with Kiala and the doctors in the hut before hiding with Proc to discuss strategy. Another child tries to grab a dead smuggler's weapon for self-defense, but before the robot can shoot, Fielding stops it as she opposes killing civilians. However, Bowler insists that all these people are witnesses and must be eliminated. Jans tries to object, but Bowler points a gun at him. Finally, Kroger reactivates the robot, and this child is also shot dead. The robots continue to move around the village, eliminating all remaining smugglers and even shooting at the huts. Mason and Proc move cautiously and enter Kiala's hut. Proc tries to leave with only Leap, but Mason stops, as the boy wants to stay with Kiala. After a tense moment, Proc leaves, and the doctors hear a strange noise outside. A wounded woman is crying beside the body of her dead child. The doctors want to help the wounded woman, but the robot arrives first and kills her. At this point, the robot detects the presence of the doctors in the hut and opens fire. The doctors immediately flee, and Mason points them to a hiding spot before returning to distract the robot. When he appears on the camera, the technical team temporarily stops the robot, as it's clear that Mason is not a smuggler. Seeing this, Mason informs the others that they can come out. However, now all their faces have been recorded by the camera. Green orders the technical team to eliminate all of them and leave no witnesses, especially since he knows that Mason is a former SEAL. The robot is reactivated, and Proc returns, shooting at the robot to distract it, allowing Kiala and Leap to escape. Mason and the others continue to flee, rescuing some of the children, but the doctors are scattered when they enter the forest, causing the children to still be shot dead. A few minutes later, the BR-4 arrives at Kiala's hut, searching for traces of Leap. A villager tries to stop the robot but is immediately killed. The robot then uses a tablet to access the internet and learn more about humanity. It seems that its artificial intelligence is slowly becoming self-aware. It takes the brain and heart of the man but cannot understand them. The robot then tries to wear the man's face but quickly discards it and continues to track Leap's trail in the forest. The scene starts at the beginning when Angie is running away and suddenly gets shot and falls down. BR2 takes her passport and scans it. Now, Green and the technical team know that the ones fleeing are just volunteer doctors. However, BR2 still steps on Angie's head with its foot. Meanwhile, Kiala is fleeing with Mason, who has been injured in the hand by a stray bullet. As they try to hide, they encounter the other three doctors, Jordan, Dez, and Tien. They decide to hide overnight in a cave, and the doctors treat Mason's injured hand. That night, Dr. Bo is running through the forest alone, but he suddenly slips and falls, injuring his leg. He screams in pain, and his cry is heard by Mason's group. However, when Jordan tries to leave to help, Mason stops him before he can reveal their location. Bo continues to flee, dragging his injured leg, but cannot move quickly, so BR2 finds him and kills him. Suddenly, the technical team realizes that BR4 is infiltrating their system and trying to communicate with them. The three of them cannot access the robot's files to stop it, and now BR4 is uploading its own data. Green orders the technical team to destroy BR4, but when they try to activate the self-destruct code, BR4 simply blocks it. They also consider activating Buller's backup bomb, but they cannot do so because it would destroy Chance's setup and they would lose connection with the other robots. Buller loses his composure over the potential consequences and pulls a series of wires to stop BR4's attack. This also causes the team to lose connection with all the robots and cuts the power in the apartment. Robots 1 through 3 are frozen, but BR4 continues to search for Leap, indicating that its artificial intelligence is not restricted. The technical team restores the computer. They come up with a new plan. BR1 will track Mason's group, while BR2 and BR3 will be tasked with stopping BR4. The next morning, Mason leaves the cave and discovers Dr. Bo's body. He also sees BR2 and carefully digs up a mine, throwing it as far as he can. As BR2 heads toward the explosion, Mason regroups the team and leads them to the Smugglers' factory, where they suddenly hear gunfire from the forest. Leap, Proc, and the last doctor, Wendy, appear, fleeing from the fire, and the two groups finally reunite. Meanwhile, Proc finds his secret weapon. At this moment, BR1 appears and opens fire, forcing everyone to run and take cover in a hut. Unfortunately, a stray bullet injures Tien's knee. Suddenly, BR1 pierces through the hut's wall and drags Dez outside. However, Mason throws a hammer at the robot's head, causing it to miss its shot, only injuring Dez's ear. Mason then runs outside to lure the robot after him, giving the others a chance to bring Dez back into the hut. BR1 continues forward and finds Proc, immediately shooting him down. Leap, enraged, steps out of hiding to show the robot that he has the module, which is monitored by Green and the technical team via camera. Kiala rushes to protect Leap, but before BR1 can shoot them, Proc jumps in and is killed in their place. Then, Mason also charges to fight the robot but is quickly defeated. At the same time, Jordan found a weapon in the hut, but he tripped and dropped the weapon. Mason returns to continue distracting BR1, while Jordan runs back into the hut to hide. Then, Mason hurried to the weapons pit and set a landmine. As BR1 approached, Mason shot at the mine, causing an explosion. The robot was knocked down but still functional, so Mason charged in to fight the robot. Baller ordered the technical team to activate the self-destruct mode, but fortunately, Mason detected the signal and escaped just before the robot exploded. Back in the hut, Leap cried over Proc, and Kiala revealed that she was seriously injured. Mason returned and called for help, causing Tien and Wendy to try to rescue him. After everyone was treated, the group continued on their way, unaware that the technical team was tracking Leap's module. Meanwhile, BR3 finally found BR4 and attacked it. However, BR4 had downloaded many new abilities from the internet that BR3 didn't know how to handle, so within minutes, BR4 defeated BR3. Buller wanted BR3 to self-destruct, but Foster ordered not to do so because he wanted to preserve BR4's advanced brain. Then BR4 used BR3 to access the technical team's computer and thanked them before beginning to upload its own data. The situation became so dire that Bowler and Green decided to ignore Foster's orders and instructed the team to activate BR3's self-destruct mode. But BR4 stopped them and took BR3's module to install it into its own head, continuing the data upload process. Bowler decided that they would have to go into the forest to deal with BR4, but Kroger proposed an alternative, using a new module with advanced tactics to reactivate BR3. While they discussed the details of this plan, Bowler realized that Fielding was outside, talking on the phone with her husband. He chased after her and demanded she hand over the phone, but Fielding began to run. After a long chase, Fielding was eventually cornered. She grabbed a steel pipe to strike Bowler before continuing to run. Unfortunately, she tripped and sprained her ankle, giving Bowler the opportunity to catch up and kill her with a knife. All of this was heard by her husband through the phone, and Bowler found the phone and used it to trace the number. Then, Bowler returned to the apartment and told Kroger and Jantz to pack up, as their team had been compromised. He pretended not to know where Fielding was. After they left the apartment, Bowler blew up the place. In America, Fielding's husband was also killed in his home by an assassin sent by Bowler. Back in the forest, Mason's group climbed rocks to put distance between themselves and the robots. The healthy people climbed up first, while the wounded were pulled up. However, they were wasting too much time, while the technical team had reset their computers at a new location and reactivated the robots. Soon after, BR2 discovered the group, and only Jordan remained on the ground. After several missed shots, he began to flee and hid among the rocks. When BR2 moved closer, Jordan considered self-destructing, but his group called out his name, distracting the robot and allowing Jordan to escape safely and reunite with the group. However, BR2 climbed up after Jordan, forcing the team to throw a rock at the robot to make it fall. Meanwhile, Bowler left with a new module, but before that, he made sure to threaten Chance's and Kroger's families to ensure they wouldn't do anything wrong. Soon after, Bowler arrived in the forest and attached the module to a BR3 explosive package, causing it to immediately run off, while also revealing that it could now speak. Meanwhile, Mason's group continued moving through a cave. After hours of walking, they needed to rest. As the doctors discovered that Dez was deaf, they suddenly heard a noise and were frightened. However, it was just a blind man, no longer able to perceive reality. Mason then led the group deeper into the cave to rest safely for the night. The next morning, Kiala showed no reaction, and the doctors noticed she was bleeding internally, so they began treating her wounds. At this point, BR2 appeared in the cave, and Jordan and Mason decided to leave to track it. Unfortunately, BR2 heard Mason's movements and began chasing him, causing him to trip and get injured. Jordan made a noise to draw the robot's attention away from Mason. The group couldn't move because they had to tend to Kiala, so Jordan shot at BR2, but it had no effect. Suddenly, Mason returned and threw a rock at the robot to make it chase him. As BR2 chased him, it fell into a rocky pit and got stuck. Once the doctors finished with Kiala, they left the cave and circled around the robot, but Jordan couldn't take it anymore and decided to shoot at BR2. Not far away, Bowler was monitoring BR3. The robot stepped into a mine but continued unaffected. In the cave, BR2 eventually freed itself from the rocky pit. A while later, the group reached an ancient temple, but Kiala died in Mason's arms. As they mourned her in the temple, BR2 found them again, and the group had to flee. Leap led Dez, Wendy, and Tien out of the area while Jordan and Mason stayed behind to distract the robot. They fired a few shots but to no avail, so instead, they moved stealthily and eventually escaped into the forest to reunite with the group. Mason finally realized that BR2 might be tracking the module, so he discarded it, causing the robot to immediately turn back. However, BR2 found the module, and the tech team instructed the robot to follow the group's trail. But instead, the robot quickly located the group and shot Wendy, while Dez accidentally stepped on a mine. The robot then captured Leap, and Mason rushed to save him. Suddenly, BR4 appeared and took BR2's head to continue uploading data. The tech team had to disconnect to stop the process. As BR4 ripped BR2's head off, Kroger reminded Jantz that their families were in danger and persuaded them to reconnect. However, they discovered that BR2 had died in the forest. Leap tried to pull Mason away, but BR4 stops them and asks them what it is. They had no answer, so BR4 retrieved the original module and attached it to continue uploading data, forcing the tech team to disconnect again. Meanwhile, the doctors discovered that Dez was still alive but only had time to share his final words before dying in their arms. Back with BR4, it questioned Mason and Leap about existence, asking why in wartime, some lives are considered more valuable than others. It wondered if its ability to learn meant that it was alive. Suddenly, BR4 was attacked by BR3, and an intense battle between the robots ensued. While the robots fought, the doctors rescued Mason and Leap, but they were blocked by Bowler, who immediately shot Jordan. Mason ordered the group to run as he began shooting at Baller, but he had to take cover when the robots neared. Baller tried to approach Mason, but fortunately, Mason found a mine and threw it toward Baller. Soon after, both robots fell and struggled on the ground. While Baller was still alive, Mason challenged him to fight like a real man. But before they could begin the knife fight, BR4 suddenly grabbed Baller's leg, causing him to fall. The group turned back to find Mason, and Green ordered the team to activate A3's self-destruct to eliminate them, but BR4 intervened. Then, BR4 stated that life was truly important and instructed the group to run. Once the group was far enough, BR4 self-destructed, taking Baller and BR3 with it. Green called Foster to complain, but Foster considered the experiment a success and cancelled the agreement with the CIA, allowing the tech team to leave. However, in his rage, Green activated the bomb Mason had left behind and destroyed both in the forest. The group fortunately escaped safely, but the truth was, Jounce was still alive. Just minutes later, at the robot factory, BR4 finished downloading data and is now inside other robots. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss exciting videos like this. You can search for the movie Monsters of Man to watch the full episode. Thanks for watching.